She planted herself at my front gate, oversized sunglasses hiding her eyes, clipboard tucked against her chest like a badge of authority. Behind me loomed the mansion, a century-old masterpiece I'd spent months bringing back from ruin. Fresh stonework, restored windows, polished iron rails, all of it glowing under the early morning sun. Her voice shattered the quiet. You have exactly 24 hours to pay your HOA dues, or this property will be demolished. I actually laughed, convinced it had to be a joke. You can't be serious. This house sat abandoned for decades. There is no HOA. Her mouth twisted into that tight, practiced smile every Karen seems to master. There is now, she replied, flicking through a thick stack of papers. The entire neighborhood is under new management. That includes this property. Before I could answer, a sheriff's truck rolled up in a cloud of dust. The driver stepped out slowly, boots crunching on gravel, one hand resting too comfortably on his belt. Sir, we've received a report that you're refusing to comply with HOA enforcement orders, he said, voice flat, eyes hard. My heart jumped not from fear, but confusion. Comply? I asked. With a woman who just showed up claiming she owns my land. Karen crossed her arms. You're trespassing on HOA-controlled property, sir. We're well within our rights to enforce compliance. The sheriff nodded like his mind was already made up. You got proof of ownership? I glanced back at the brass plaque mounted beside the door, the one I'd polished myself. Registered historical property, Est. 1922. Proof. I said carefully. Yeah, plenty. But let me ask something first. Since when does an HOA send law enforcement to shake people down? Karen smirked. Since I took charge. That's when my instincts kicked in. Something felt wrong. The sheriff's uniform wasn't standard. The badge looked cheap, and the truck lacked official county markings. This wasn't real law enforcement. So I played along. All right, I said calmly. You want payment? Let's step inside. I'll grab the paperwork. Karen's eyes flickered. No need for that, she said quickly. We can handle this right here. But I was already moving toward the door, pretending not to notice the way her so-called sheriff followed just a little too close. Inside, the house came alive, hidden cameras blinking silently from every corner. Motion sensors, facial recognition, audio capture. I hadn't just restored a mansion. I'd secured a landmark. As the door closed behind me, my phone buzzed. A message from my brother. You were right. HOA letters are fake. The company doesn't exist in county records. My pulse slowed. I turned back toward the door, watching their distorted shapes through the frosted glass. All right, I muttered. Let's see how far you're willing to take this. That's when I caught her reflection, Karen subtly signaling the sheriff. He reached toward his belt, pulling out a folded document, but his hand lingered near his holster just long enough to make his intentions clear. This wasn't paperwork. It was intimidation. I opened the door halfway, keeping my phone angled just right. Karen raised her voice. This property is officially condemned. You are not permitted to remain until an HOA inspection is completed. Condemned by who? I asked. You are, she snapped, shoving the paper toward me. Spotted the flaws instantly. Blurry county seal, wrong font, an outdated date from 2 years prior. Nice try, said quietly, her jaw tightened. Are you accusing me of fraud? I smiled faintly. No, just pointing out that your official notice looks like it was printed off Google. The fake sheriff stepped forward, snatching the paper and jabbing a finger toward my chest. You either pay now or we escalate this to court. HOA dues and penalties. $42,000. $42,000. I almost laughed. For 3 empty houses and a dirt road. That's the law here, Karen snapped. I leaned against the doorframe, completely calm now. Actually, I am, she blinked. Excuse me, you should have done your homework, I said evenly. This mansion is registered under a state preservation trust. Any legal action goes through the state, not a fake HOA. The sheriff stiffened, turning toward Karen. You said he was a squatter. He is, she stammered. I saw him move in. He's lying. I stepped closer. I've got ownership records, tax filings, restoration permits, and surveillance footage. I pointed to the blinking red light above the porch. And every second of this encounter is being recorded. The sheriff froze. Karen's confidence cracked just for a moment, but it was enough. I pulled out my phone and tapped a button. The live feed uploaded straight to my attorney's cloud server. "You've got 10 seconds, I said calmly, to explain who you actually work for." Karen swallowed. "You're making a mistake." Then a black SUV tore down the side road, tinted windows, no plates. The fake sheriff muttered under his breath. "We need to leave," Karen whispered, grabbing his arm. Too late. The SUV door opened, and a deep, steady voice cut through the air. "Ma'am, step away from the homeowner. You're under investigation for property fraud." Karen froze. The fake sheriff turned pale as the real sheriff stepped out tall, composed, authority in every movement. The imposter's hand twitched near his belt, but he didn't dare move. The air went dead still. Even the birds fell silent. "Sheriff Dalton, County Enforcement," the real officer said, flashing his badge. "Care to explain what's going on here?" Karen opened her mouth to speak first. "Officer, thank God you're here," Karen blurted, pointing at me. "This man broke into an abandoned property." "Stop," Dalton snapped, his voice cutting through her act instantly. "We've been tracking you for weeks. I know exactly who you are, Miss Reynolds." Her confidence shattered. "What? I'm the HOA president." "No," Dalton corrected, pulling a thick file from under his arm. "You're the woman who's been creating fake HOA organizations to extort homeowners across 3 counties. And this man," he gestured toward the fake sheriff, "isn't law enforcement. He's your boyfriend." The imposter's jaw tightened. "You don't have proof." Dalton smirked and tapped his tablet. "Actually, I do." He turned the screen around. Clear footage played Karen and her partner planting fake HOA signs, stamping counterfeit violation notices, even posing for photos in uniforms that didn't belong to them. Karen's face drained of color. That's not me," she whispered, but her voice had no strength behind it. I folded my arms, watching calmly. "You picked the wrong mansion, Karen." She snapped her head toward me, eyes blazing. "You set me up." "Set you up?" I chuckled softly. "You trespassed on my land, threatened to demolish my home, and sent a fake sheriff to intimidate me. I just restored a house. You destroyed your own case." Dalton glanced at me. "You did the right thing calling this in. We've had complaints, but never caught her in the act. What tipped you off?" I shrugged. Her badge font was Comic Sans. Even the deputies cracked smiles. Karen glared at me, her arrogance collapsing, but something else flickered in her eyes. A quick glance toward the tree line. Dalton saw it too. "Don't even think about it," he warned. Too late. A second engine roared somewhere behind the mansion. Tires screeched, gravel sprayed, and a black pickup tore down the back road at full speed. Dalton cursed. "Her crew's running," he barked orders as deputies rushed back to their vehicles. I turned to Karen. "Crew?" She smiled, then not panicked, not afraid. "Cold. Crooked." "You really think it's just me?" she whispered. "You have no idea what you stepped into." Before the cuffs could snap shut, she leaned closer and muttered something I couldn't quite hear, something that sent a chill straight through me. Dalton's tone hardened. "Get inside. Lock your doors. This isn't over." I nodded and stepped back toward the porch as sirens faded into the distance. Then I noticed the door, slightly open. I froze. I knew I'd locked it. Someone was already inside. When I pushed the door open, the floorboards creaked like a warning. The lights flickered. The scent of dust and fresh paint hung in the air, mixed with something metallic. Something raw moved slowly, every step deliberate. Somewhere upstairs, a faint thud echoed. I grabbed the nearest thing I could, a rusted wrench from my restoration tools, and started up the staircase. My heart hammered, but my mind stayed cold. Whoever was inside wasn't here to steal. The top of the hall. I saw a shadow slip into the master study, the room where I kept the original blueprints and restoration files. The door creaked open an inch. I waited, then I spoke. "You've got 10 seconds to walk out before I make a call you'll regret." Silence. I reached for the doorknob and the door exploded open. A man lunged forward, mask half torn, eyes wild. I swung the wrench, blocking his arm. A fake badge flew from his chest, clattering across the floor. He tried to shove past me. I grabbed his jacket and yanked him into the light. Same uniform, Same fake badge. Who sent you? I demanded. He hesitated, then whispered, Karen doesn't work alone. The houses. They're all part of it. Before I could say more, headlights flashed through the windows. Dalton's SUV was back. The man bolted, but deputies stormed in, tackling him on the stairs. Within seconds, he was cuffed and shouting. They searched the house top to bottom. That's when they found it. Behind one of the newly rebuilt basement walls, a sealed metal box. Dalton pried it open carefully. Inside were stacks of forged property deeds, fake HOA charters, and hundreds of blank violation forms, enough to target homeowners across 3 states. Dalton looked at me. You just helped us uncover $1 million real estate scam. I finally exhaled, setting the wrench down. Guess this old mansion wasn't just hiding history, I said. It was hiding a crime. Karen and her crew were taken away that night. The mansion stood silent again, but different. Stronger. Like it knew what it had survived. A week later, I stood on the porch as a reporter wrapped up her segment. And the man who restored a century-old mansion ended up restoring justice too, she said into the camera. I smiled faintly. I didn't do it for attention, I told her. I did it because no one gets to threaten a man on his own land. The camera light blinked off. I looked back at the house, golden light catching its windows just right, and whispered, they tried to destroy you. Instead, you destroyed them. As the American flag on the porch swayed in the evening breeze, I knew one thing for sure. I didn't just rebuild a home, built what they forgot this land still stands for: freedom, truth, and the right to fight back.